Moving forward to our next segment, we'll now proceed with our panel discussion with some of our CLN members. So first, let me introduce to you our panel speakers. David Stevens, Managing Director of Advantage Worldwide UK Limited. They are our CLN member since 2012. Tony De Oliveira, CEO of Wings Logistics Private Limited from Sri Lanka, our CLN member since 2013. And lastly, Karina Romero, pricing from Tolepu SA Ecuador. They are our new CLN member this year. So to start off with our first question, how do you believe the Delta variant will affect the reopening of the world, and how does the Delta variant affect your current business? If I could start with Karina, please. Again, this is just a personal opinion. Obviously, it's relatively difficult to predict the future, but we'd like just to hear from you, your opinion, and then also your experience, how the current situation affects your business.
Hi everybody, thank you again. Well, it's difficult to see the future unless we have the crystal ball, right? But the rapid spread of Delta variant has clouded the growth outlook. Experts are warning, but it's too soon, I think, to tell how the market will react. For example, while global COVID cases remain relatively low, the number of economies reporting sequence of the Delta variant has climbed, with a growing number now identifies as a domain strain. As everybody knows, Delta variant has been identified in more than 100 countries, so now we should be quite alert. Nonetheless, if economies reopen and allow cases to surge, the economic gains could prove illusory if the new Delta variant provokes major disruption to business and higher cases prompt greater voluntary social distancing. So I think it will depend 100% on everyone. If we allow this Delta variant to have the economy go down again, so everybody will be affected, okay? And in spite of this, I really have high expectations, probably for the second Q of 2022, because as you know, carriers are already investing in the purchase of new containers, new ship, etc. But in the meantime, let's let the crisis make us more creative.
Thank you, Karina. Tony, if I could hear from you.
Basically, in a nutshell, the Delta variant per se, I know will delay opening up the world till at least the end of 2022, if not later. However, what is more relevant is the pace and the extent of the vaccination penetration that would help avoid mutations and other into any other variants that will be introduced into the world, which will affect our day-to-day lives. So suffice to say, it will definitely affect the opening of the world, as I said, till 2022. And let's hope and pray that things will not take longer than that. That's it.
Thanks, Tony. David, what is your take on this?
Yeah, Niels, coming from obviously a UK perspective, we've been going, I think we've had 3 lockdowns, and the latest one after the third lockdown, we've really kind of opened up. The vaccination program has really taken off well, with about 85% coverage, which has allowed us to now open up in terms of stadium, restaurants, bars, and I wouldn't say we're exactly back to normal, but we're not far away from it, which is a positive thing. But what I find fascinating is the right word to use, is that the various stages that I think we're all going through globally, because as soon as somebody or a region opens up, and as I say, we are opening up, you look down to Australia, New Zealand, and they're locking down again. And then the issues in China, and with the latest kind of Delta variant sort of cases sort of on the climb. It's incredible. So I don't think we're out of it by any shape or form. But I think, and again, I'm a great advocate for the vaccination program. I know there's a lot of people probably aren't, but it seems to have worked here in the UK, and the economy's growing. The employment market is getting back up to where it was pre-COVID. So all the signs are very good, but in terms of what's around the corner, I have no idea. But I'm ever an optimist by nature, and I do think we're on the right path. And I think globally and economically, we all need to come sort of together and get on the same sort of path. But everybody's at a different stage. But I do think I see some light at the end of the tunnel. I see it, and it's getting closer. So I'm fairly positive and optimistic. But I think, again, regionally, in various governments and countries are looking at it from a lockdown point of view and a vaccination program in a different way to others. Whereas I think, it's being on the same page, I think, is far better. But as I say, the weekend, we had a full sporting program. The stadiums are open, 60,000 people at the team that I support, without any masks. The vaccination program has obviously helped very well there. So yeah, we're getting there, and we're getting there sort of fairly swiftly, barring any kind of mishap or any kind of additional wave coming through. But I like to think the vaccination program, we're through it in that respect. But again, I'm a positive individual by nature, so we've got to look forward.
Thanks, David. Yeah, I agree with you. I think we need to look for more vaccine equity around the globe in order to be able to have, let me say, a more unified opening. There's a lot of countries that are going through very difficult times right now, and it seems that vaccines are the answer to a global reopening. So let's hope we can get this rolled out by setting up more factories to produce more vaccines and get it distributed and get it out there to everyone. Absolutely. So yeah, until then, I think we got to do our part to be supportive as much as we can in this situation. I'd like to move on to our second question, which goes to the heart of everyone and every freight forwarder here today. How do you manage air freight and sea freight space situation in current times? Maybe we can start with Tony.
Okay. As you said, it is a hot question right now amongst everybody. Actually, the space is there, but at a price. Say, example, off the cuff, for a 40-foot container from Chittagong to the UK is going around 15 to 20,000 US dollars. So that explains it all. So hence of this reason, the way we manage is an open book pricing with an agreed markup with our customers. That's what we're doing right now. The good thing is, of course, that the big players and their service contracts have been probably thrown out by the liners, and it all boils down now to who has the better local rapport with the line, and of course, who pays the right price. So at this pricing level, actually, I can see that it will be feasible for smaller lines to operate services either on liner terms or charters. As I'm told, presently some of the freight companies are chartering 15,000 to 20,000 TEU vessels to move some of their freight. So that is how it goes. Air freight, of course, is the same. There again, it's a matter of price and how much contact you have with the relevant parties in your particular country. As for Sri Lanka, that's how we operate, and I hope things will get better as we go along. And let's hope our prices will be more realistic so that our country will be able to export our goods and import our goods at prices that are reasonable, where the end customers don't have to bear the brunt of all the costs. That's it for me.
Thanks, Tony. Yes, this is definitely something that we can all see in the supermarkets and in retails right now, where prices are doubling or tripling at an ever increasing rate, and delivery times also have been delayed substantially over the last few months. So there's definitely a lot of issues that are affecting the end consumer. David, how do you see your air freight and sea freight space there in the UK?
Yeah, well, I'd say how we managing it with great difficulty, I think, is probably the right way to explain it. Again, what Tony has said there, the costs are through the roof. But I'm a bit suspicious, a bit of a cynic when it comes to, when Maersk and CMA and the likes are punching, 3.4 billion profits for the first half of the year. It kind of sort of makes you think and makes you wonder whether they're doing enough to correct what is happening. And it's not. I think it's congestion is the issue. I think the space is there. It's congestion. It's the equipment's all in the wrong place. And I don't think they're really kind of sort of moving it around as quickly as what they should do. That's the ocean lines. Air freight aside, again, costs have gone through the roof. And I think that is down to space because the passenger airlines have obviously cut back incredibly so because of movement from the point of view in terms of passengers over the last year or 18 months. But that's not to say the ocean lines really should have, I think, can do a lot more than what they're doing. And again, this is my point of view. And I think what kind of has happened here as well, certainly from an ocean point of view and certainly from a UK perspective, is that when we had the lockdowns last year, nobody realized that when you put in 2 million, 3 million, 4 million workers or whatever we had a furlough scheme over here, so they're getting paid by the government a certain amount of their salary. But what people were doing were they were just buying online, as much as they're locked down, they're buying online. So come September, October last year, there was a spike in terms of demand, and space wasn't there. And that's air as well as ocean. And of course, it's then various countries were locking down, ports were getting congested and so on. So they're all in the wrong place. And I think the lines themselves could have done a bit more. And I'd like to hear other comments on that as well, because again, it's purely my opinion. Maybe I'm being suspicious of them, but when you're paying $20,000, like Tony said, $20,000 to get a high cube in from Shanghai, and then you've got a container, as in a haulage or a trucking shortage when it arrives, it's delayed at the port, another 5 days on that, and additional costs. There's a lot of companies out there are not quick to find a solution to these issues, and I'm suspicious of their motives in that respect. So it's tough, but we're getting there. But we as a company it's an incredibly busy period for us, incredibly busy, and has been for this year, which is great. But I think it's busy because of a few of the issues that I've just described there as well. But we're getting through it. But and again, Maersk had just issued a press report saying that don't expect any kind of normality until the middle of next year, and that's it won't ever get back to certainly from a rate point of view, they're not expecting it to get back to sort of pre-COVID levels, if ever. So I think there's a real shift in the market in that respect. So it's going to be interesting. But as long as we keep smiling, I think we're going to be good. And we adapt, don't we, in that respect? And our customers will. But one thing I will say, if I could just mention, is that there is a bit of a sting in the tail because commodity prices, as we all know, are going up and will go up because of what they're having to pay, the consumers having to pay now. So inflation will rise, therefore interest rates may have to do the same thing in terms of controlling it. So that's going to be something around the corner that we may have to deal with. But again, I'm sure we'll deal with it.
That's right.
So that's my point of view.
Thanks, David. Karina, how is the situation in Ecuador with your air freight space and sea freight space?
Well, I think this is one of the biggest challenges that all the foreign trade industry is facing now. As Tony said, space has a price, Okay, but nowadays in Ecuador, and also we have seen it in all European countries and also in North America and in Asia, that even paying a high price will not guarantee space. So this is so chaotic for this shipping industry that we have to be creative to search for new options. I'm convinced, for example, that planning is a key. However, we in Ecuador, as logistic operators, are still struggling to have our customers being conscious about the importance of planning. And it's not just with 2 or 3 weeks in advance as in the past. Nowadays, we are talking about a waiting time of 1 month in the best case, or inclusive 2 months, depending on the continent of origin or the type of shipment. Also, when we talk about loading a big lot of containers, could be considered like a memory of the past. Nowadays, if you have a lot of 20 or 30 containers, the carriers say, I have to split the ship because they don't have enough equipment, they don't have enough space. So we have to have our customer again to replan, to make a replanning of their purchase orders. And also, for example, when we import goods from South America, we are also checking another mode of transportation, not only the sea freight or air freight, but also the international land transportation. This is another option that have worked for our customers in Ecuador. Trucking is another big problem at origin, especially at the US or in other European origins, because they have, for example, rail combined trucking services, but customers need to look for another truck service to pay probably 2 or 3 times more the price to get a truck. And we're also waiting for 1 month to have 1 truck ready. In addition to this, but not less important, I strongly believe that working the relationships, not only with customers, but also with our current suppliers is quite important for our business.
All right, thank you, Karina. That was certainly interesting. And there's a lot of similarities there that I can see across all the various countries and continents, the way it seems right now. Another issue that we have all gone through, I guess, at some point or at some stage in the last 15 or 17 months was working remotely, working from home. Do you still work from home currently, or do some of your staff in your company work from home? And do you believe that we will continue to work from home in the future to some extent? Karina, maybe you can continue since we had you there.
Yeah, absolutely. For example, at my work, whose staff is about 500 people, we are combining remote work with office work with success. It's like we have 70% office work and 30% remote work, and then we interchange. And it totally works. Why? It's quite important for companies to invest in high technology to have this new normal work. Okay, our customers, well, I don't know, but Ecuadorian customers are very strict. Okay, it's a very competitive market. So in order to be competitive in this new normal, the market needs to have the information updated 24 hours to have a WhatsApp message reply whatever time it is. Okay, even it's 10 p.m., but now in Hong Kong is 10 a.m. Okay, but we need to have an answer, and we have to chat with via WeChat with our agents at China to can get a space confirmation. So it's like a new normal, but it works if the company has already invested in high technology. And regarding other industries such as agriculture, food commodities production, it's certainty that remote control will not apply for those kind of industries, but for the complementation of the business, it would apply, and it's already working. For example, in food commodities, when you have online purchase, delivery, every day people are making orders via online, and that's why I strongly believe that remote control will continue.
All right, thank you, Karina. David, how do you handle remote work? Do you still do that out of the UK right now?
You know what? We do. We as a company don't. It's very rare. Maybe the sales guys will do that. But I might upset a few people here because I encourage people to get back into the workplace as soon as they're able, because and my reason for that is that we're social creatures, social animals. We need to interact, and I much prefer that with the staff that we have, and equally the bigger picture here is that there's a huge sub-economy that survives and thrives around office workers. That could be coffee shops, it could be sandwich bars, it could be local restaurants, whatever it may be. These people are still out there that need support from the office workers that are out there. I'm a huge advocate and a huge supporter of that. But equally, I do understand that there's a need for a lifestyle balance. So if you can split that sort of during the course of the week, maybe 3 and 2 or something along those lines, then I guess I'm fine with that. But as much as I love a virtual conference like this, I prefer meeting people face to face and shaking hands and hugs and all this kind of stuff, and greeting people, because that's the way we are. And I think that's the way that we've survived for 1,000 years plus. It literally is as simple as that. But so to lock, I wouldn't say lock people up, but ask people to work from home and work remotely all of the time, I don't think it's healthy entirely. And again, that's my opinion, but I could ask my daughter. She's had the experience of working remotely and enjoying every minute of it. So I don't know whether it's a younger thing or not entirely, but I'm a great supporter of getting people back in. And we locked down, so we had some people working from home purely from a numbers point of view, but we made the facility COVID safe in various different ways. And as soon as people could come back in, they came back in because they wanted that interaction. And I think that's important. You can talk to people face to face on a screen like we're doing now, but you'll never replace the face to face kind of meetings.
Sure.
Communication sort of channels in that respect. So yeah, to answer your question, it's been quite long, but to answer your question, it will continue, but I'm an advocate of getting people back as soon as I can.
Thanks, David. And Tony, how about you in Sri Lanka? How does I'm assuming you guys are doing remote work right now? Sorry, we can't hear you, Tony.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, we do have remote work at the moment. And for me personally, unlike my good young old-fashioned English friend for his comments just now, we believe in it makes economic sense for us to work on a hybrid model. So technically, I believe that, and I anticipate that the hybrid work environment, with some workers in the office and the others continuing to work from home, is going to be something that will go on many years into the future. So only thing I have with regard to this is that with this model, it is very important that we ensure that we employ, or we have key person dependencies, monitoring and making sure that the people who are working from remote areas are doing the job properly, which is something we are doing ourselves as a company, where, in a nutshell, we have someone who is specifically looking into the fact that if some ABC are working from home and another 4 in the office is fine, those people have to clock in at a particular time and log out at a particular time. And if they're working and if they're not doing certain things, then there have to be a reason for it. So these are little things that you have to tweak around as we go. But unless, of course, if you can't afford to hire any particular person to do that, then the next best thing is by hiring additional backup resources if needed, and then kind of bring on a reliable services provider with a proven track record and expertise who can monitor these type of things to ensure that the hybrid model works. I know it does work. And I am also for what David said with regard to the support services that require, like the coffee shops and the guys down the road who need some kind of assistance. Yes, I believe in that for sure. But at the same time, I think it's important that we strike a life-work balance. And there's no better time for it than now. That's it for me.
That's a good way to conclude it, Tony. Thank you very much. At this stage, I'd also like to conclude the panel discussion as we've gone a little bit over the time limit. Thank you very much, Tony, David, and Karina for participating in this panel discussion and for your very valuable insight this morning, evening, or nighttime.
Thank you very much.
I hope we can have these types of discussion going forward in person. I certainly do prefer to do these things in person as well.